For those who are looking to interpret verse from antiquity from all sources, I'm not talking about the big stories, but the short verses, like from the Dhammapada, the Tao Te Ching, Sermon on the Mount, things like that. Just the short, compact little verses. There's a technique that I've really dialed in that makes them consistent. We can now get to where all of the masters from antiquity are teaching the same thing. And in this video, I'm going to take one verse from 4 sources. From Jesus, from the Buddha, from Lao Tzu, and from the Hindu, from the Upanishads. And I'm just going to take one line out of each one of them and show how they're identical. They don't sound like it when you read them. When you interpret them, they are. And we're going to interpret every one of them exactly the same way to see what's there. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. Let's get into it. How do we interpret the verses? There's a very specific way to do it. What I want to say is that there's a fixed way that the verse is made. And if we know what that is, we know how to extract what the core teaching is that the master put in there. Okay, I'm going to pull this up right now and take a look at something that I've been working on here. Okay, and I put interpretation rules, and that's exactly right. In order to interpret these, we have to maintain a consistency with how we interpret them, not just between different teachers, but within a body of work. If you interpret one verse from Jesus, then you have to interpret every verse from Jesus in exactly the same way. We don't just pick and choose. So interpretation rules for interpretation consistency of all spiritual verses from antiquity. This includes the Upanishads from Hinduism, the Tao Te Ching from Lao Tzu, the Dhammapada from the Buddha, and the Sermon on the Mount from Jesus, and all the rest. And those are the 4 I'm going to be using in this video to show how that interpretation works. Okay, here's what I want to say. The verses are all made in an identical manner. They start out as a mentally interactive step, then are encoded in a variety of different analogs. Once done, the mental inner healing concept is nested as a concept that few can mentally access. For an example, if we have a hurt memory, unresolved, and it continues to cycle and to hurt us in life, we must forgive in order to be free of the bondage of it. But most will never do that, nor pass along the teaching in plain language. So it is disseminated in each culture in a word-of-mouth vehicle. Jesus calls these many roads facing outward leading to destruction. We are going to enter the narrow gate, or the mind. The narrow gate is a threshold inward. Everyone does the same thing, simply changing the analogs for their people, local beliefs, time and place in history. All of these are identical, cause and effect. I've got a few here that I've made mixed up with a few that I've pulled from the masters. An anchored ship cannot sail. A dog tied in the yard cannot run away. We cycle around that which we cling to. Now in these verses, I become the ship. As long as I'm anchored to something, I can't leave it behind if I'm hanging on to it. I'm the dog tied in the yard, and if I'm tied in the yard, I can't get away from it. That represents I can't get away from what I'm tied to. We cycle around that which we cling to. Very simple. That one's in almost plain language. Don't let go of stuff from the past, and guess what? It continues to affect your life. It emerges again and again. Then it gets a little tricky. It might sound differently. A tree chopped down grows back unless the root is pulled. That's not swinging around and around, but it's something that's still cause and effect. We've got it. This is from us, from within us. A tree grows from our garden. This represents something that is emerging from us, and it grows back continuously unless the root is pulled. So here we have the idea that unless we let go of something, we're going to hang on to it. Down here it says unless we pull the root from it, it's going to continue to reemerge. So it's cause and effect still, held in a little bit different way. You have to get a little bit deeper. They're not always going to sound very similar. Here's some from antiquity. Here is from Lao Tzu. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Now this is not physical desire. This is where we have to shift the analogs. Caught in desire. These mean something different. Desire does not mean my physical desire. It means I'm hanging on to something. And I may not physically want it, but I'm hanging on to it. I'm nevertheless hanging on to it. It's something that I've named. This is just one verse in a larger body of work. But as long as I'm hanging on to that, I see it continue to occur over and over again. I see only the manifestations. So it's emerging there. Here's from the Buddha. If a person speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows them like the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. I am now the ox that draws the carriage. Pain follows like a wheel. That's cyclical pain. A dog tied in we cycle around that which we cling to. Cyclical pain. So pain follows, like a wheel follows me. Evil thought. Evil thought is like desire up here. They don't sound the same, does it? Evil thought means something that's derogatory in my mind. Desire is something derogatory in my mind that I'm not letting go of. We have to shift them a little bit farther. We can't treat them as plain language. Jesus says the judgment with which you judge others will be likewise judged unto you. Again, we got to make these mental. They are not of the physical world. You can judge people and not... I've been judged by people just by driving down the road, and you're like, what the hell? I didn't do that, So you look at that and go, that doesn't really work like that. And you could be nice to people that are mean back. You could be mean to people that are nice back. So it just doesn't work in the physical world. You look at that and go, what kind of a teaching is that? It comes with so many caveats. Okay, so we have to take it as a mental thing then. A judgment is something like the evil thought or the desire. It's something that we're hanging on to. The judgment is something we've made in our mind, and it's going to be with other people. It's something that we're judging in life. Will be likewise judged unto you. We're going to continue to cycle around it. You see how they unfold in that way, but they're analogous. All right, here's the consistent interpretation rules. Treat the material as your guru. It should be the guru's cryptic teaching to the seeker of the inner path. Yeah, if you're reading the Tao Te Ching or the Dhammapada, treat it like you just went and found the master and said, what's my life about? Please tell me. And they're starting, and they start from the beginning. You don't want to just start in the middle. You want to start from the beginning, because it's going to be teaching a cycle, how life comes about. Okay, this is self-psychology. It is about you, and it is mental. It is physical only due to, as within, so without. Okay, we work on the mental issues. There may be physical changes that happen as a result of our mental changes. As we change and we heal, we're going to cease to fit. Those will be physical changes, but those are due to the inner changes. Every noun and verb is an analog whose true meaning must be ascertained through mental thought processes. Treat every verse the same way regardless of the source. They emerge in a mental drill down through thought experiment. I'll demonstrate that here in this video. Before moving on, I want to do this one again. I've said this from time to time. It's really a play on words is what's happening, except these are very specifically oriented towards the mind. That's what they're all focused on, is your self-healing. But if you were to take it completely into some different realm, if I were to modernize it, I've used this before. There's an old Dr. Demento song. I'm of that era. There's probably better examples that are modern today, but I'm going to use this one. I don't remember the name of the song, but it's something like, you're a bubble off plumb. There's a screw loose somewhere. Your elevator doesn't quite make it to the highest floor. There's things like bats in your belfry. All of these are ways of describing what? They're not saying you got something nutty going on in your brains upstairs. They're not going that far, but they're all inferring that in different lingo. That's what we're going to see here, only it's very specifically, like I said, for the mind, for self-healing. It is focused there. All right, I'm going to read these four. Let me actually get them closer together. Okay, I'm going to read these four. This is from Jesus, Lao Tzu, the Buddha, Isha Upanishads. These are all the same thing. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Lao Tzu, free from desire, you realize the mystery. The Buddha, if a man thinks or acts with pure thought, happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves him. And from the Isha Upanishad, may you remove your orb so that I who adore the true may see the glory of truth. Okay, let's interpret them. What is poor in spirit? Kingdom of heaven. Blessed. We know blessed. Poor in spirit. What's a spirit? What is poor? That doesn't sound good. If we went to Luke, it just says, blessed are the poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. So here's something to know right off the bat. Whether it says so or not, it's always treated the same way. And by that I mean when you're reading any of this material from antiquity, all of it plays out exactly the same way in the mind, no matter what. So if one tells you poor in spirit and you think, oh, I'm supposed to turn it inward, but the other one says poor, that means of the physical world. Nope, that one's not saying in spirit, but treat it the same way, no matter what. Make it of spirit anyway. And ultimately that means mental. We don't like to hear that. We want the spirit, but what you want to feel good, right? We're feeling ourselves through the combination of the conflict of our minds. And what these choices and the things are that we're talking about, specifically is a memory and a perception of that memory, how you feel about that memory, those two. And the healing happens by changing the perception. You can't change the fact that it happened. That's it. You don't even forgive the other person. You can forgive the other person and feel like I still hate them and never want to see them again, but I'll let them off the hook. That's not a healing. A healing is when you just take care of yourself. You don't worry about the other person. You're carrying baggage. It's not about the other person. It's hurting you continuously. So you know to let it go. The other person is let off the hook as a byproduct. Take care of your perception, and the forgiveness happens automatically. Poor in spirit. What is a spirit? We think spirit is something that when our body's dead, that we continue on somehow as whoever and what we are, floating around ethereal space somehow, something. That's not what spirit is at the template. The spirit is something that is in common. It's mentally interactive. The spirit is going to be what we have become, what we're living through, our experiences, our life experiences. When we're walking to Damascus and talking about something else on the way, and we make sure we get there, and we think about it later, and we got the goats there and didn't lose anything, didn't pay attention to where we were going or anything, but we still made it there while we were talking the whole thing. That's because our spirit was in the background taking care of things. That is who and what we are, is our background, the experience, what we live through when we're not in our conscious state and looking and living through our experiences. So poor in spirit means devoid of that bundle of memories. That would be like clearing out the mote from your eye, from Jesus. Poor in spirit. Clear out the mote from your eye. Get that bundle of memories, those judgments. Buddha's version is seek emptiness. Same thing. Poor in spirit, seek emptiness. Yeah, it's the pile of stuff that we've become. We need to go, okay, I'm going to stop living through that pile of stuff. I am not that. That's just a pile of judgments. Let's rise above that. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And the kingdom of heaven, we know from Jesus elsewhere, is the kingdom of heaven within. It's a state of mental being, not a place that you wait for till after you die. It's a place you get to now. The kingdom is here, and people do not recognize it. They don't see it. It is here now. Okay, so this is saying, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That would translate then to, blessed are those who have made themselves devoid of their bundle of judgments. For yours is the happy life. You are free from your mental turmoil. Lao Tzu, free from desire, you realize the mystery. This is in a body of work that is going to say that, we've named things, and anything that we've named is what has come about. That naming means that we are now filling up our spirit. That means we are beginning to judge life and become a product of those. Free from that bundle of memories, from those things, we realize the mystery. We realize the flow in life. That would be like the kingdom of heaven. Poor in spirit, free from desire. Kingdom of heaven, realize the mystery. The Buddha, if a man thinks or acts with pure thought, we've now emptied out our minds. Happiness follows like a shadow that never leaves. See how that one's kind of plain language? You're just going to be kind of happy in the shadow that never leaves. You're just bathed in happiness if you get rid of the crap that you've judged in life. The Isha Upanishad, may you remove your orb so that I who adore the truth may see the glory of truth. Did that come online for you? It's the oldest one out of that group right there. The orb is the bundle of memories. If we were to go through, this is not right this is in the first Upanishad. Okay, I'm going to return to this. This time I've removed the color code, and I want to do we're going to go take a look at that verbal shift comparison. I've talked about using different analogs to carry the same meaning, and we're going to see how it works right here. That's why I describe it so much. All right, from Jesus we have poor in spirit. From Lao Tzu we have free from desire. From the Buddha, we have pure thought. From the Isha Upanishad, we have remove your orb. Okay? Poor in spirit, free from desire, pure thought, remove your orb. Every one of these is mental. Remember. What is a spirit? What do I desire? What are my thoughts? What is this bundle of memories? If we wipe all that out, our judgments, we get rid of our judgments, we would achieve the kingdom of heaven within. Pick a different color here. Or we would realize the mystery. Or we would have happiness like a shadow that never leaves. Or we may see the glory of truth. There it is. Bingo. Analog shift. Same lesson. All masters. Equal masters. All right, I've talked through that enough. You can see the pattern in that. And if you can follow along and realize, yeah, that's exactly the same teaching, then you're figuring it out. You've got to make it your own, though. You have to see that on your own. I can point it out to you, but you've got to pick it up and go, how did that happen? It has to play out in your mind. That picture has to come online in your own head. It becomes yours at that point. There's another pattern, though. I just grabbed verses out of each one of them. If you looked at each one of them as a body of work, you would see that teaching right there is right in the beginning of each one of them. The beginning of the Dhammapada, the Tao Te Ching, the Sermon on the Mount, or the Upanishads. Right up front, it's telling us that you are going to become a product of your massive thinking. And if you want to get free of that in life, you're going to have to get through that massive thinking. That's what the guru is telling us right up front. And I'll plain language it. Okay. I just wanted to say that on this video. I'm going to keep it short because they get so long, people don't like watching them. Hopefully this one was interesting. Questions, comments, any verses you want me to look at, feel free to post below. See you in the next video.